Good morning. I just wanted to do a quick video on how to make a formative assessment focusing on the essential standards for your grade level for the marking period. So I am in Google and I'm going to go to SAVVAS using the waffle. So as you can see, I am going to the waffle and going to click down and open my SAVVAS account. Right here you find Pearson EasyBridge, and we open up our account. As you can see, my book is already attached to my students. I'm going to go in using the SAVVAS Realize over to the right. So I click on that and I pull up my textbook. I'm using a 5th grade textbook. I'm going to click on it. Once I get into my textbook, I'm going to go to the top up here where it says My Library. Once you're in My Library, you can see that there's 2 tabs at the top. One is My Content and one is Shared with Me. We have pushed out a few assessments already, and you can see them here. If you wanted to assign them to your students, you could use the 3 dots, click it, and then assign it to your Google Classroom if you wanted to use those. We are going to go to My Content, and then we're going to go all the way to the left to build a test. Once you get into this, you have to give it a title. I'm going to call it Sample 5th Grade, and I'm going to call this 5NF1. The description, you can just say fractions. You have to write something in there or it won't move to the next screen. Do you want this test to count towards mastery? Yes, and we're going to build it from a select bank of questions. And I'm going to press next. Once the screen comes up, you are going to search by standard. So I already said that we're going to work on NF1. So I'm going to come down here, click the down arrow, and click NF1, which is our essential standard. I'm going to go back up to the top and search selected standards. So once I'm in here, this is where there is a bunch of items. Some are Spanish, some are English. You got to watch how they come out. Sometimes they're laid out differently. Sometimes they're a little bit harder to find. So this is where I take a stop at this point, or I do it prior to, but I'm going to open up a new window. And if you know that, let me see if I can open up our homepage really quickly. I'm going to go to our Atlantic City website, and I'm going to pull up our curriculum map for 5th grade. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm trying to find where in the curriculum document NF1 is focused on. And we should know that the orange means essential standards. So you can see it's in second marking period. It was in cluster 2. So if I click on math and open up the curriculum document, and I scroll down within this document and find the textbook pages focusing on NF1. So I'm going to scroll down and I find NF1. So as you can see, these are the Envision 2.0 lessons that focus on that standard. And it tells you that the bold ones are the most in-depth coverage. So since I'm just starting and I'm just starting teaching this standard, 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, 7.4 is where I'm going to focus my formative assessment, because it's the beginning and I want to start out and not give them such hard problems. I want to go with basic. I want to make sure that I show some kind of modeling, some kind of concrete example for them to take while giving the formative assessment. So I already know that that is the topic I want to go to. And I'm going to open really quick. I'm going to go back to Google. Because I didn't want to mess up where I am right this second. So I'm just going to look really quickly in the teacher's edition. Okay, so in the teacher's edition, I just clicked on it and I went through the first couple pages. So you can see here that it's also showing that NFA, which is what we're working on, is in topic 7. So you can see that clearly on that graphic right there from the textbook. So that also helps you kind of navigate where you're going within the textbook. And I'm also going to go really quickly to topic 7. So these are the two ways that you can kind of look up where you're going to focus. So you can see in here, topic 7 is use equivalent fractions to add and subtract fractions. So we said we're working on NF1. So if you notice, 7.2, this leading standard is right here, find common denominator. So that's something I'm focusing on with this standard. It's in 7.2. NF1 right here, it's in 7.3. That's the main focus. Again, 7.4. Also in 7.5, so I could kind of throw that in to that if I've already taught that topic. So I'm going to look back at 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, and 7.5. So kind of narrowed my focus down for where I'm making that assessment. So let's go back to the assessment that we already started. And I'm going to look at mostly quick checks, and I'm going to just pick a few questions. Like if my assessment, I want it to be 5 questions, I'm going to try to pick like 8 questions so that when I get to the test and I finalize the test, I have more questions so I can kind of weed out some questions that I don't want to use. I also want to talk about when we are in our PLCs, we're unpacking standards. If I'm focusing on NF1, I want to make sure that when I unpack that standard and I use learning targets, I want to make sure that I have those learning targets in my mind as I'm picking out these questions. Just some information as picking questions makes it a little bit easier to narrow down your focus. So what I'm doing is I'm going through the pages here and I'm looking for, here's a quick check. We said we wanted to work on 7.2. So I'm going to use this quick check. I'm going to open it up. I just clicked on it and there's 5 questions in this quick check. I'm going to show the question. I'm going to read, and we said it was common denominator. So I'm going to throw one question in there about common denominator. Which of the following is a common denominator? Let's say I pick this one. So I click that. And I only want one of those. Not really digging in too deep on that. We'll see how they do. So next, let's see if I can find, here's a 7.4, but let me see if I can find 7.3. I don't know if I passed that or not. There, 7.3 is there in Spanish. Let me go back to 1. I was just trying to keep them in some kind of order, but it doesn't matter. Here we are. Quick check 7.3. Let's look at question number 1. Here's a great concrete example. There is a model. It's using fraction strips. I like it, so I'm going to click it. Let's just look at another question in here. Question 2. Word problem, the distance from the mailbox to the bus stop. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick that one. I'm just kind of going through. I'm going to make my decision. I don't want to do the sum of those 3. I'm not there yet. So I don't want to go too far in depth. I want to keep it simple. This one, again, I think it's too hard for the first assessment, formative assessment. I'm trying to keep it simple. So let me just go with question 2. So now I have 3 questions picked. So now I want to go back to, we did 7.2, we did 7.3. Let me look for 7.4. And I'm only toggling back between the 3 pages, so it's not a lot of information that I'm looking through. So it doesn't take that long. Since I narrowed down my focus to those 3 lessons, it doesn't make it so hard to like go through all this information. See what I say? Like some of these don't show up. So I'm going to go back to 1. Let me just look really quick. 7.3, we just did. 7.9, I don't want. 7.4, 7.11, that's Spanish. Quick check, 7.4. I breezed through them so quickly, I think I miss over them. Okay, so 7.4, let's look at question 1. Here goes another concrete model with subtraction, so definitely going to pick that one and put that in my assessment. Let me look here. how much taller. I like this. This is just like the other quick check. So I think I'm gonna stick with the first 2 questions. So now I'm up to what, 5 questions? And let me go to 7.5 quick check and see what we got here. Maybe I'll pick a couple here and see if I like them. Okay, here's a difference question. No modeling, no concrete example, but I think I'm going to pick it and I can get rid of it if I want to. Let me see what question 2. The first 2 seem to be the easiest. This one, I think they have to solve all those questions. I'll pick it, but I'll decide at the end. So I have a little bit over 5 questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm done adding questions. Once I'm done, I can go through. This is my 5th grade example. The questions are showing. I'm going to keep this one. Question 2 is the modeling with addition. So I'm working on that, keeping it simple. I like that one. The word problem, I like that. I also like the subtraction with the concrete model. And then I think I did a word problem. So I think I'm going to keep those 2 and I'm going to trash 6 and 7. I'm not ready for 7.5 yet. So I think I'm just going to get rid of those last 2 questions. Okay. So once that happens, I press done. So you see it comes up to this screen. It says you have created the test. So it's in my bank, in my content, in my library. So here it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to these 3 little dots and I'm going to assign it to my students. It comes up to this screen. You probably have seen this screen before. If you did any kind of interactive student edition, if you have signed any kind of quick check, this is the screen that always comes up that connects it to your Google Classroom. So I'm going to say, I'm going to sign it for tomorrow. I can give them a start time either way, but I'm not. I'm just going to sign it for tomorrow. Instructions, please take this assessment. And then once I come over here, I'm going to find my math class. I click it. That's my Google Classroom. Once I sign it to that Google Classroom, I press assign and it'll show up into the student's Google Classroom so they can take that assessment. If you have any questions, please reach out to myself, Mr. Hokobo, Mrs. Kelly, and Mr. Costello. We can answer any of your questions on how to assign it, how to create them. So please definitely reach out if you have any questions. Thanks so much for listening.